Welcome to the RSP NFL Scouting Glossary. I'm Matt Waldman with the Rookie Scouting Portfolio. Today, we're going to define the basics of transitions. And we're going to use a play from Iowa State NFL draft prospect Xavier Hutchinson. So what are transitions? Transitions are the techniques used to change from pass catcher to ball carrier. And effective transitions get receivers downfield in a hurry and help them maximize yardage. Now, offenses that employ a lot of pass patterns with receivers moving across the field after the break rely heavily on the receiver to execute good transitions. So the teams that feature a lot of these patterns in their scheme, they drafted these receivers or recruited them in college cases for skills in the open field. So receivers who don't transition effectively, well, what you end up seeing is that they aren't optimizing the intent of the pattern, the timing of the target, or the quarterback's placement of the ball relative to the coverage. Even when receivers are running patterns with breaks that terminate, say a turn back to the quarterback against tight coverage, an effective transition can create space that isn't there at the catch point. And there are really two simple and valuable rules for effective transitions that help receivers optimize their transition from a pass catcher to a ball carrier. Let's take a look at them. The first is the catch and pierce, getting downhill as fast as possible. You want to see the receiver to be able to snap the turn north-south, limit the steps, make the turn tight and immediate, and accelerate through the turn. And we're going to watch Xavier Hutchinson do exactly that on this particular play. Even though he has to extend wide and towards the defender coming downhill, he may not see exactly where the defender is, though he probably saw it before his break. The defender is playing outside shade. He makes his catch, has him heading outside, and he's still able to make a hard plant, then really just angle the inside foot inside so that his hips just turn. So there's no extra steps needed. He doesn't run into the defender. He turns inside of the defender because it's a tight turn with some snap. Unnecessary steps aren't there, and you can accelerate through that turn and get downhill. And obviously, when possible, you'd like to see optimal pad level, where you can keep the pads low like he did here, reduce the surface area so that you can run through any reach, get your hips downhill, pads over the knees, and you have that good body lean to get extra yards, and tighten ball security. This ball security can be a little tighter. That's part of his game that needs to get better, but he does have it high enough to his chest, and he has it away from where the defender was located. So the catch and pierce, this is a good catch and pierce, especially considering where the ball is placed. And that's the second part we want to look at is you want to obey the ball. The receiver should turn in the direction of where the target leads them. Instead of stopping and turning inside, while that may seem intuitive if you have the defender on the outside, it takes more time. And that gives the defender extra time with his angle to be able to make a better tackle because now you're having to slow down and turn opposite, and that's just an inefficient thing. Instead, make the turn tight, sharp, downhill towards where the ball was placed, and because it's a sharp, tight turn and he can do it quicker than he could turning inside, he now has the defender at an angle that's not optimal, and he's able to run past it. So the premise is trust your quarterback that he's acting as the receiver's eyes and placing the ball in the optimal position. Now, the exception to this premise is, say, the receiver is aware of the position of the coverage relative to the break, and it requires a turn away from the target's placement. But even when the target isn't accurate and leads the receiver into potential contact that the receiver couldn't anticipate prior to the break, if they execute a tight catch and pierce, it can mitigate the contact, if not avoid it altogether. And that's exactly what you see here with Xavier Hutchinson, is you see him obeying the direction of the ball and making a tight catch and pierce. It's not a pinpoint accurate throw. He has to leave his feet. He has to extend towards the angle that the defender's coming downhill, and he still makes the defender miss. Now, you might say, well, that was a bad angle. It was a bad attack by the defender. That doesn't really count. This is the problem with people who sometimes when they're scouting is they don't understand that you got to follow the maxim that the player you're scouting, you're grading them based on what they can do within their control, not necessarily relying on what the defender does or doesn't do. Because one of the things that I've learned over the years that has proven successful time and time again with scouting players and having an accurate read on what they can and can't do is that at the end of the day, good technique exploits bad technique. And often enough, if your techniques are good, then you're going to create breakdowns in another player's techniques or concepts, and that can help you win. It doesn't always happen, but when you do it, more times than not, it sets you up for success. And that's what you're looking for, is whether the receiver puts themselves in a position to make a play. And he does that. He forces the defender to make a better play, and the defender couldn't do it, and therefore he won because his technique was tight. Thanks again for watching. For more RSP Boiler Room videos and RSP NFL Draft Glossary videos, check out my YouTube channel, Matt Waldman's RSP Film Room, on my site, www.mattwaldmanrsp.com.